Today we'll try to understand what is process API. Before that, let us just recall what we discussed in last class. So in last class, we tried to understand what is process abstraction. Uh, no, we try to understand what is process, who creates the process, no, and how this process are scheduled. So in operating system, we have a CPU scheduler, right? This scheduler is a code which takes care of scheduling the process for the execution, and it also takes care for the context switch, the CPU switch from one process to the other process. So this policy and mechanism is taken care by a scheduler code. So scheduler code is a part of operating system code. Okay, and we also discussed about what are the different information that a process will have. We know that it will have a process identifier, memory image, and it also have some registers in the CPU, program counter, stack pointer, and data registers, and so on. And you also have a file descriptors, right? Like standard out and standard in, just for the process to display some output on the screen. And if the process wants to get some input from the user, then it uses stdin, standard input, right? And we also discussed about how operating system creates a process. We know that you have a disk, a.out is executable that is available in the disk. Now operating system copies this a.out into the memory. No, in the memory it allocates small chunk, small piece for a.out. Therefore, by this operating system creates a process, right? And we also discussed about different state of the process. Every process is not the same. One process will be in the running state, other process will be in the ready state, some process will be blocked. Maybe the process needs some information for the execution, right? It may requested some data from the disk. So therefore, until the request is completed, the process will be in blocked state, right? And then you have a new process. The process is just being created yet to run, and you have a dead state where the process is terminated after the completion of execution, right? And then we discussed about process state transition. uh, so you know that you have a ready, and then if the process is ready, then the CPU schedule the process for running, right? When the process is running, if the process initiates IO request, then it goes to the block. Once the IO request is done, completed, then the process go back to the ready state, and again the CPU schedule the process for execution, right? So this is the process state transitions. And then just we try to understand examples how the process change from one state to the other state, right? And then we also discussed about operating.
Sir,
See, please don't interrupt. If you have any clarifications, please make use of last 10 minutes.
okay.
Yeah. And then we discussed about operating system data structures, right? So you have a multiple process in the system, process P1, P2, Pn. How this process or keep tracked by the operating system. Operating system has to keep track of all the process. So we have some data structures in the operating system like linked list. So it keeps the linked list keep track of all this activity of the process. So in the linked list, for each process we have something called process control block. So for each process we have a process control block, and this will have informations like a process identifier, process state, uh, and then at the CPU context, right? When the CPU switch from one process to the other process. Now let's say that you have P1, P2. P1 is the process P1, and you have multiple lines of instruction. Let's say you have 100 line of instruction in P1, and CPU has executed the first 50 lines, and it has executed first 50 lines. When it executes line 50, the CPU wants to shift to the process P2. So the CPU just save where it is lastly executed, in which line it is executed lastly, right? That information will be stored in a CPU context. And then you also have a pointers to the memory location and then open files, right? All this are available in PCB, and all these are managed by operating system, right? So this is what we discussed in last class. Now today we are going to discuss an important topic which is called process API. So do you have any idea on process API?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Okay, yeah, fine. Let us try to understand this. Now, what do you mean by API? We know what is process, right? Fine, good. What do you mean by API?
Application programming interface.
Okay, fine, good. Now let us try to understand this. Now, API is application program interface. Now, what do you mean by this? Look at the word application programming interface. Okay, so API is just a function. It's a function which is available to the user for writing the program. Okay, API is a function which is available for the user to write a program, right? Now, API, application programming interface, is provided by the operating system. Okay, provided by the operating system, and this API is called as set of system calls. Okay, API is provided by the operating system, and this API is called as set of system call. Now, what do you mean by this system call? What do you mean by system call?
So system functions basically.
Okay, so the
Any
system,
command.
yeah, fine. The system call is a function call in the operating system code that runs at a higher privilege level of the CPU. Okay, system call is in operating system code. System call is in operating system code that runs at a higher privilege level. Okay, now okay, we know that system call is just like a function call, but it runs with an extra power that regular function cannot do that. Okay, now the system call, why we need this? The system call have an access to the sensitive operations. Like if you want to read some data from the disk or from memory or from the hardware, all of these operations occur only at the higher privilege level. So if you want to access some data from the memory, from the hardware, then we have to use the system call, because system call has an extra power that executes in the CPU with higher privilege level. Okay, fine. Now the question is, different operating system. Okay, you have operating systems like Linux, Windows, Mac, and so on. Different operating system can provide different system call. Now the question is, does it mean that you have to rewrite a program for each operating system? Can you think
No,
of?
sir.
I repeat my question. Now, did you understand what is system call now?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. Fine. Now the question is, different operating system like Windows, Linux, Mac may give different system call, may have a different system call. Does it mean that you have to rewrite a program for every operating system?
I guess not.
Yeah, good. Let's say that you have a C program. Okay, you want that write in a Linux platform separately, and then you want to write that in Windows platform separately. that is not the case for different reasons. Why the reason is? What is the reason? Because you have something like POSIX API. Okay, the name of the name of the API is POSIX. Now, what does it mean?
No idea.
Okay, fine. So this API, POSIX API, is a common system call that major operating system agreed on. Okay, all the major operating system implement the same set of system call. Okay, the standard set of system call is implemented in all the major operating system. That API, the same API, which is known as POSIX API. Okay, the POSIX API is a standard which is implemented across major operating system. So because the API is same, application programming interface, because API is same, you can take a program and without rewriting, we can run it on any operating system that supports POSIX API. Okay. All right. And all the modern operating systems have an POSIX API. Okay. Therefore, because we have a POSIX API, it ensures program portability. Fine. Okay.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Good. Now the question is, do you think when we write a program, we invoke system call directly?
No, sir.
No.
Okay, I want you to look at the second bullet point very carefully. My question is, when we use a program, do we use system call directly? No, right? Most of the time what we use a program libraries, right? Now, if you look at this point here, printf function in the C library calls write system call to write to the screen, right? Now, what we do when we write a program, we use a C library. We use printf statement to print on the screen. Okay, as a user, we do not worry about invoking system calls. Did you understand this?
What does the invoking system calls means?
Okay, good. That is why I have a figure here. Now, can you look at this figure to understand what is system call and what is library function? Okay, you look at this figure for some seconds. Then let me explain you. Okay, all right. So you have a user mode and then you have a kernel mode. So in the user mode, you write some code. Okay. When we write a code, we use some library function, let's say printf. Okay. We have this printf from the standard C library. But when this program is executed in the system, this printf function invokes a write system call. Okay, so as a user, we do not worry about invoking system calls in the user programs. We don't write instead of printf, we do not write write system call. Got the point?
Yes, sir. So basically, like whatever we write, it's the function of library to find out which call to invoke, right?
Yeah, so we just write, we just make use of C library functions and we write a code. But when CPU execute that, look at the structure here. It's a user mode, and below that you have a kernel mode. Kernel mode in sense operating system mode. Now we has for user, we do not have an access to a kernel mode because it's an operating system, the code of operating system. So that is the reason why, that is the reason the kernel mode has higher privilege level. It does most sensitive operations, which the user cannot do it. So when user has a user, we use a C library function. We use only printf. When a CPU executes this instruction, the CPU will invoke the write system call. And we know that printf statement is to print something on the screen. So the CPU will invoke this write system call and it will print the greetings on the screen. All right.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, fine, good. I believe you understand this. Fine. Now we are going to discuss something very important. Now let us try to understand what are different system calls which are related to the process. Okay, if you take process, what are the associated system calls for process? So we have several system calls for a process. Starts from fork, exec, exit, wait. Okay, let us try to understand each of this in more detail. Now, the fork is a system calls helps to create a process. Okay, fork is a system call helps to create a child process. Okay. All right.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Yeah, always remember that no way the process is created by its own. There is no way that a process created by its own. Every process created by another process. You have a parent process. Now parent process use a fork system call to create a child process. Okay. Now, every process, every process created from another process. Now, when you start operating system, when the operating system started in the system, it creates a process called init. Okay, when you start your operating system creates a process called init. So init is the process, init is a ancestor for all the process. And then you have exec, it makes a process to execute the instructions. And then you have an exit, which helps to terminate the process. And you have a wait system call. Let's say you have a parent process, you have a child process. Now, when, okay, you have a parent process and you have child process. When parent invoke wait system call, the parent will be blocked and it will wait for the child to complete the execution. Only then the parent will start the executions. Okay. All right.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and there are many variants of this kind of a system call. You can pass with different arguments inside this parenthesis. Now let us try to understand each of this system call in more detail, how it executes. Let us see some uh, algorithmic or the program part of it. Okay. Now let us go one by one. Now what happens during fork? When you use system called fork, what happens? Can you think? Can you think?
the child process is created.
Okay. Okay, we know that a fork is a system called to create a process. Now, what happens during a fork? Okay, let us try to understand this. Okay, now, now every process has what?
Memory image.
Good. Every process will have a memory image. Okay, and we know that the memory image consists of code, a data, a stack, and heap. Right? Are you able to see this figure?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, fine, good. Now,
Yes, sir.
fine. Now, what happens during a fork? Okay, so you have this parent. Let's say this is the parent process, and parent process has a memory image which has code, data, stack, and heap. Right? Now, in the parent code, it's a parent process. Inside this code, the parent invokes a fork system call. Okay, in the code of parent, it invokes a fork system call. Now what happens?
So new process may be added to the OS list then.
Okay,
Copying the memory image.
good. New process will be created. Okay, new process by making a copy of the parent. New, that is, the child process is created by making a copy of parent. So you'll have a child process here. Now the child process will have a code, data, stack, and heap, which is an exact copy of parent process. Okay, the child has a code, data, stack, and heap, which is an exact copy of parent process. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Now the second point on the screen, when the parent created the child process, the child process will be added to the linked list, will be added to the operating system data structure to track the activity of child process. When the new process is created, that will be added to the operating system data structure like linked list, just to monitor the activity of the child process. Okay, fine. Now you have two process, parent and child. Parent and child are scheduled sometimes. Sometimes C get opportunity to execute, that is child get opportunity to execute. Sometimes the parent get CPU for the execution. Right? Now both the process, both parent and child start the execution just after the fork. Okay, I will explain this point when I deal with the programming. Okay, as of now you just understand that you have two process, parent and child. It will start the execution just after the fork, where it has different return values. Okay, I will explain this later. Now the last point on the screen, parent and child. Okay, when parent fork, the child memory image is created, but we know that child memory is a copy of parent memory initially, but later some point of time, parent and child keep changing the memory independently. You understand this?
Yes, sir.
So can you explain more deeply about this?
Yeah, I'm going to explain this with a program. Okay, fine. Now, if you look at this code, this is process P1. Okay, you have process P1. Now look at the line 9. Look at the line. Okay, let me give you 1 minute of time. Just have a glance of this code. Just go one by one, line by line. Not in more detail, just in glance. Okay, fine. All right. So here is a small example code which uses a fork system call. So here, let's say that name of the process is P1. Okay. Now in the line 9, the process, that is parent process, called fork. Now what is this RC? What is this RC?
It's a variable.
Yeah, good. It's a variable of return value. Okay, RC is a variable of return value. Now you have a process P1. Okay, you have a process P1, and now in the line 9, you have invoked a fork system call. Now what happens?
Copy of the parent image is created.
Good. Exact copy of parent is created. That is, the child is created now. Now you have a child process. Now exact copy of parent also available in a child. That is code, data, stack, and heap. All is same now. Okay, fine. Now both of them, both parent and child, will have the same variable RC, but it's set to different values. Both parent and child has same variable RC, but the return value is different, right? Now, if you look at line 13, if you look at line 13, this is the child process. Okay, this is the child process. Now the return value, that is RC, is a return value here. RC is a variable of return value. The return value of child is 0. Whatever the code goes into RC equal to 0, like line 13, line 14, these two lines are belongs to child process, and that return value is 0. Okay, for child process, the return value is 0. For the parent process, the return value is non-zero. If you look at the line 16, all are parent process. Okay. All right.
Yes, sir.
So now I'm sure that you understood how this fork system call is working and why we have a return value with different values for return for parent and child. And when you execute this code, both parent and child will execute the same code. It's just going to print the process identifier, the name, the process identifier, right? Every process will have some identifier, right? Some identity number in the system. So that is going to be printed. For parent, it is going to be 29146, and for child, it is 29147. Okay. So everyone understand how fork system call works?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So one thing,
Yeah, we'll have a questions at the end. Okay.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, we'll have a questions at end.
Sir, can you please repeat the output part?
Okay. See, both here, both parent and child execute the same. So it just prints the the process identifier, right? If you look at this code, you have the printf statement in the line 8. Okay, therefore it's just going to print hello world, and it wants to print the process identifier, and we know that %d is the format specifier. It's an integer, right? It specifies an integer format specifier. So you have hello world, and it's going to give you a process identifier. Okay. All right.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. See, in a system, every process, when it is created, it has an identity. Like you have a registration number, similar to that, whenever the operating system creates a process, it gives some identity number. So this program just prints what the identity of the process is. Okay.
Sir, so it just say that parent is independent and child is independent after the child comes from the parent, right?
Yeah. Yes. So when the parent makes fork, initially the exact copy of a parent goes to the child, but later some point of time the child can execute its own code. So it modify the memory image independently. The code of child will be different. The data of child will be different. So it manages its own memory image.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, fine. All right. So now, uh, so our parents will not think this, waiting for children to die. Yes.
Yes, sir.
Our
Yes.
parents will never think this. Fine. Now, what this title says, waiting for children to die. What do you mean by this?
Waiting for the child process to terminate.
Good. Waiting for the child process to terminate. Now, what happens when the process terminated? What is the process behind this? Okay, to terminate the process, what system call we use?
Exist.
Exit.
Yeah, we use an exit, right? We use exit. Good. Now, what are the different way for the process to get terminated? Can you think? You have a program, right? A process is nothing but a program. You have a code. Now, what are the different way for the code to terminate? What are the different way?
Either we manually close it, either it is completed or not responding, maybe.
Good. So we have the program get terminated in two different way. One is normal, other one is abnormal. Okay, what do you mean by normal here? The program terminates itself normally when the program reaches to the end of the main function. So in C, you have a main function. So when the program executed the last line in the main function, then the program terminated normally, right? This is one way of the program get terminated. The other way is if the process does something illegal, if the process,
Your voice is yeah, like it's very low.
it's very low. I'm in campus.
Now it's good.
Yeah,
It's fine, sir.
yeah, okay. I sit in campus and I deal with this class. I don't think I have a bandwidth issue. I request you to please verify it. Thank you. Fine. So the uh, yeah so we know that the program get terminates normally and abnormally. Normally is when the instruction reach to the last line of main function, then the program gets terminated. And the other way is if the process do something illegal, if the process does something different, then the operating system terminates the process. So these are the two different way the process get terminated, right? Now, whatever the way the process terminated, where either it is abnormal or normal, what happens? Can you think? Can you think on this word? What do you mean by zombie.
So maybe it is kept in the background.
It's kept in a background. Okay, what do you mean by zombie here?
The living dead.
A living
Undead.
dead. Okay, okay, fine, good. Now, when the process is terminated, they are not removed completely. Okay, understand this. When the process is terminated, they are not removed completely from the list of the process. You have a data structure, right? When the process is terminated, they are not removed completely from the list of process. Instead, they exist. The process exists as zombie. Now the question is, when this zombie process is cleared or removed completely? Can you think when the zombie process removed completely? Okay, look at the
Sir,
next. Yeah, please go ahead.
maybe the parent process gives some instruction. Then
Good.
after that.
Good, fine. Now look at the figure here. You have a parent process, you have a child process, right? Parent and child. Now, when the parent make a fork system call, the child is created, right? Now, the parent uses the parent process invoke wait system call. Okay, when parent is invoking wait system call, parent has to wait for the child to complete the execution. Okay, when parent invoke wait system call, the parent is waiting for the child to complete the execution. Only then the parent will continue the execution. Okay, now the parent will clean the child. Only then the child process will be cleaned completely from the system. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, fine. You understand this? Parent.
Sir, can you repeat it once?
Okay. Please look at the slides, bullet points. Parent invokes wait system call. Therefore, parent will not start execution. Parent is waiting for child to complete the execution. Once child completes the execution, parent will fully clean the child process. The parent will fully clean the child process. Only then the parent will execute the instruction of it. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, fine. Now I have a question to you. Now let's say that you have a parent process and you have a child process. When parent invoke wait, we know that the parent will clean the child process. Yes, you agree with this?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Suppose in some cases that when child completes the execution, okay, when child completes the execution, the parent is no longer available. When child completes the execution, the parent is no longer exits. What if parent exited before the child terminated? In this case, in this scenario, what happens? You understand my point? Okay, let me repeat. You have a parent process. Let's say that parent invoked wait system call. Okay, then what happens?
The child executes and gets terminated.
Yeah, child get terminated and child get cleaned by the parent process. Okay, let us think in another scenario. Let's say that when child completes the execution, when child terminator, the parent is no longer exist. Okay, so we cannot clean the child completely from the system. Now in this scenario, who is going to clean the child process? Parent is not available, so who is going to clean the child process completely from the system?
The initialize method of OS itself.
Good, good. When the look at the last point in the slide, if parent terminates before child, you have an init process. What do you mean by init process? What is init? We discussed in first slide.
The first
It is the
process from which all
that
inputs
starts.
are.
It's an ancestor, right? Init is
Register
an
of all the
yeah, is an ancestor for all the process. That is, when you start your operating system first creates init process, right? That is an ancestor for all the process created after that. So if the parent is not available to clean the child completely, then the init process will take care the child process, and it will reap or it will clean completely from the system. Okay, all right. Okay,
Yes, sir.
yeah, fine, good. Yeah, all right. Now if you look at this code, example code, in line 10 you have a fork system call which is invoked by the parent process, and RC is the return value. Okay, now in line 14 it's a child process, and the value of return value for child is 0. And look at line 17. Look at the line 17. What happens here? What happens in line 17?
the weight is like it is the weight function is being function like
Wait.
from the parent.
Good, good, very good. The wait system call is invoked by the parent. Now, what does it mean? The parent is just waiting for child to complete the execution. Okay, the parent is just waiting for child to complete the execution, and then the parent will start execute. Okay, all right.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, fine, good. So let me stop here. You have any questions to ask?
One thing like when we say that like can you just go back to the PPT for a second?
One second. Let me pose this quiz to you. Then you can ask. So I request everyone to complete this. Yeah, tell me now. Yeah.
When like sir when the weight function is being what we say is like set by the parent, so we say that the parent waits until the child gets terminated, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So and like as you just said, like when the wait function is terminated, so like the child being run and then getting terminated is same thing as you say that it is getting terminated. So these two are the same things.
You mean the process, parent process and child process are same thing?
No. Like when the wait function is like executed by the parent, so it
Okay.
waits for the child to get terminated, right?
Yes.
And then
Yes.
gets executed.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is, as you just said right now, ki like when the wait function is being initialized, the parent waits for the child to get executed and then get terminated. So I'm asking, these two things are the same only.
Okay. Okay. Fine. So here, you have a parent process. Okay. So in the parent code, okay, in the parent code, the parent is invoking a fork system call and wait system call. Okay. When fork happens, the exact copy is created. That is child process. Now,
Right.
the parent has invoked wait system call. Therefore, it waits the child to complete the process, to complete the execution. And this, because the parent is using wait system call, after child get completed the execution, it will return back. That is, the execution will come back to the parent process, and then the parent process will start execution.
Okay, sir. So basically execution, like after the execution of the child, then it turns back to the parent and then parents work.
Yeah, parent will execute. Yeah.
Okay.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah, please go ahead. Yeah.
Yes, sir. So how is it possible that the parent process will get terminated before the child process? Because the child process is also a part of the parent process.
Yeah, good. See, it's a part of parent process, but child can do some different activities. Okay, let's say that you have a code of parent, a data of parent, but the child may execute the same, or the child can execute a different code, different data. It will manage its own memory image independently. Okay, so
Okay.
in some cases we need to think of a different scenario, right? If what happens if it is not available? Let's say that the parent is blocked for some reason. See, CPU is like, you will understand better when we discuss a synchronization concept. Now, it will give a signal to the, if you have a multiple process, let's say P1, P2, P3. Now, if this process P1 and P2 are communicating each other, both are doing the same job. If P1 and P2 doing same job, let's say that you have CPU. When CPU is executing P2, okay, when CPU is executing P2, then P1 may be terminated because it is doing something very bad, it is misbehaving. So operating system may terminate when process P2 is executing. P2 will not aware. P2 will not be aware that the process P1 is terminated by the operating system because of some misbehaving. So under this situation, there is someone there need to be there to clean the child process. So in that scenario, init process comes into the picture because it is an ancestor of all the process. So it will try to clean the zombie of child process.
Yes, sir. Okay, sir.
Okay. Yeah. Fine. Good. So I request you to please complete the quiz. So any further questions?
No,
So I
sir.
wanted to ask you one thing.
Yeah.
If you like, you just said that the child is exact copy of parent, right?
Yeah.
So the child will also have the fork function.
Yes.
So it would be like a loop, maybe.
The code is whatever the instruction the parent has, it will have. In one scenario, you can execute the child with the same code of parent. If you want to execute, if you want the child to execute completely different instruction from the parent, then we have a system called EXEC that we are going to study in the next class.
Okay, so we can remove fork if you want, right?
If we cannot remove it. If you want the child to execute completely different instruction from the parent, we can do it using EXEC system call.
Right, I got it.
Yeah, good. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you. If there is no further questions, can we end for the day?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you. I request everyone to please complete the quiz. Okay. So thank you all. Have a good day. Bye and good weekend.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Bye bye.
गाइस मीटिंग तो छोड़ दो यार, फिर कल की रिकॉर्डिंग देखनी पड़ेगी।